Thank you very, very much. One more applause for him, please. Mary Ann Williamson. Do it again. Do it again. All right, let me read this because we got a little bit of time. Is a best-selling author, political activist, and spiritual thought leader. For over 3 decades, she has been a leader in spiritual and religious progressive circles. She is the author of 15 books, 4 of which have been #1 New York Times bestseller. Williamson founded Project Angel Food, a non-profit organization that has delivered more than 14 million meals. Let me say that again, 14 million meals to ill and dying homebound patients since 1989. The group was created to help people suffering from the ravages of HIV and AIDS. She has also worked throughout her career on poverty and anti-hunger and racial reconciliation issues. In 2004, she founded the Peace Alliance and supports the creation of the United States Department of Peace. Williamson ran for the Democratic nomination for president in 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, let us bring up Madame Mary Williamson.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here for a conversation about peace. My first experience listening to a congressional bill that would establish a United States Department of Peace was when I heard former Congressman Dennis Kucinich talking about it years ago in Congress, and then was part of founding an organization to support it called the Peace Alliance. And yet all of us are very well aware here that we are, if anything, moving backwards in the issue of peace, not only domestically, but internationally. Martin Luther King said there are 2 kinds of peace. There's negative peace and there's positive peace. He said negative peace is where there's no outright violence or aggression, but there's an underlying tension and anxiety. He said positive peace can only be built on the experience, the present experience of justice and brotherhood and love. The reason we do not have peace in the United States is because we do not have justice. We do not have criminal justice, we do not have racial justice, we do not have environmental justice, and we do not have economic justice.
Preach.
We are not a peaceful society because we are a violent society.
Yeah.
Our food policies, our agricultural policies are violent. Our economic policies are violent. Our environmental policies are violent. Our foreign policies are violence. Neoliberalism is inherently violent because it passively withholds justice. And so we can have all these wonderful conversations where we talk about the importance of peace, but we as a generation need to do more than say what we already know. We need to do something about it. We need to claim for ourselves to an era of peace, to an era of nonviolence, starting in our own hearts, and then facing all the institutional resistance that exists in this country. As long as we have an economic order that holds our Congress in grip, that holds our White House in grip, that has its tentacles into every single aspect of our society, that acts as a kind of tyrannous force that is sitting upon the goodness, the well-being, the genius, the brilliance, the love of people, then we will have a situation in which poverty, which is as violent as you can get, poverty is an expression of violent economic policies. When 39% of Americans in the richest country in the world are now skipping meals in order to pay their rent, 44% of them millennials. When 68,000 people in this country are dying from lack of health care in the richest country in the world, when 18 million Americans cannot fulfill their prescriptions, because they can't afford it, even though they went to the doctor and got the prescription in the richest country in the world. When every other advanced democracy allows its citizens to have the things which cause people to thrive, that's what creates peace and prosperity. When people say to me, oh, Miss Williamson, do you know what we should do to help with the mental health crisis? Whenever a politician has said that to me, I've said, yeah, why don't you stop driving people crazy? Because when people have such a difficult time thriving, when people have such a difficult time to surviving an unjust system, don't go telling me that what we have to do is tell them to be more peaceful. The system in suppressing people, in oppressing people, even passively, is causing all this violence in people's hearts. It's time for us to name that. It's time for us to do something about it. In a Department of Peace, the whole point of the Department of Peace is that we would build on peace building. The 4 factors of peace building are, number 1, expand economic opportunities for women. Number 2, expand educational opportunities for children. Number 3, ameliorate violence against women. And number 4, ameliorate unnecessary human suffering. That is when we will have peace. When we stop having such large groups of desperate people in our society and in other parts of the world. When that desperation is directly or even directly caused by American domestic or foreign policy, then that means that a generation of Americans has a job to do. That generation of Americans says, we're going to do more than just attend more conferences about peace. We're going to do more than just learn what the Cornel West have taught us. We're going to do something about what the Cornel West have taught us and say with elegance and with style and with sophistication, that shit needs to stop. Thank you.
This is just lovely. These people have a right to speak, and we just love here. They want to take their time, and we just got to let them take their time. They put in the work. But now that everybody is depressed hearing the statistics and everything, we're going to show you that activism not only doesn't have to be drudgery, it can be a heck of a lot of fun. Martin Luther King said it was the music that drove the civil rights movement. And we're going to play some music for you right now to drive this movement. And we're going to do it like a Black Baptist church. I don't know if anybody here has ever been to a Black Baptist church. But they come in and the band plays and the choir sings. And then they say, and the next voice you shall hear will be that of the man of God. So when we finish, the next voice that you shall hear shall be that of Dr. Cornel West.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Quick story before I get on these drums and we do our thing. This is MFSB, the sound of Philadelphia. Soul comes in all kind of flavors. Motown soul, Philly soul, blue-eyed soul, but it's all soul. And when I told them we were coming here to play, they said, well, who are your singers? I said, singers? We're a band. They said, you can't go up there without singers. So they called me, and this amazing group, a Harvard institution called the Kumba Singers. A couple of them have joined us, and we're going to set it off for you guys. So if you enjoy yourself, jump out your seat, sing along with us, and the next voice you shall hear will be that of Dr. West. Come on, man. Are we ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
know back in the day. Let me see you put your hands together. Come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on. Y'all remember the basement parties? Red lights. Come on, here they go. This is a phone. No matters that's alone. There's no place to go. Oh no, you made a choice. Now it's time to breathe. Down on the gracefully. Go home, baby. Come on, say y'all. I'll be there. Never you want me, I'll be there. Never you need me, I'll be there. I'll be around. Come on, keep your hands going. Well, I knew just what you said. Now I found out the day all the world just slipped away. But I know there's always a chance. Time is probably late. So say, come on, smarter than you think. Nothing will once again. But I know you know. Never you want me, I'll be there. Never you want me, I'll be there. Whenever you want me, I'll be there. I'll be around. Come on, here we go. Come on, you can stand up. Come on, you can stand up. This body. Come on. Okay. Here we go. Come on. I don't love you anymore. Just that simple. Come on. No, 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 not like before. Such a shame. Just a shame. We can't work it out. No, not this time. We can't be together. We can only just be friends. Come on. You got the side t-shirt. You got the right on the look. Yeah. It will never be like it was before. You don't know what I'm telling you about. I don't love you anymore. Just how simple. Don't now, no, 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 not like before. So say, just say. Come on, let me see your hand about my people 30 up in the house tonight. Salute to you, sir. Are you enjoying yourself so far? Let me hear you say, oh yeah! We taking you back. Is that all right to go back? You remember music was the real music, right? Here we go. You'll never find so long as you live. Someone will love you, tender like ice. You'll never find, no matter where you search, someone who cares for you, rolling out. Come on! Sing y'all! No one else. We'll never find. We'll see you in a long time. Someone to understand you like I do. We'll never find the real.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Cornel West.
Boy, there's a sweet spirit in this place, though, isn't there? Oh, that music just soaks your soul and it powers your heart. I'm just so deeply blessed and honored to be here. I want to begin by saluting my dear brother Keith Benson. That was him on the drums. He played the drums 20 years for Teddy Pendergrass and Stevie Wonder and the others. He was a student here at Harvard at the business school. He was blessed to come to my class, and when I met him, I knew he had a special kind of anointment. There's something distinctive about his calling, something unique about his vocation. And so anytime he asked me to do anything, I just come running. And my beloved wife, Anahita, knows that when Brother Keith calls, it's just time to move. So we in Chicago last night. I'm going to get here no matter what. Even back at Harvard, makes no difference. I'm here. Brother Keith called, and he calls on behalf of the precious everyday brothers and sisters, not just on the chocolate side of Camden. He's concerned about children all around the country, all around the world. And that's precisely why he has the vision in his institution, the Department of Peace, to salute my dear brother Bernard. Give it up for Brother Bernard again. One more time, focusing on the precious young folk. Give it up for our Brother Peter and his wonderful family, the Gammon family. Brother Peter, and then Sister Marianne, we salute you, we salute you. Oh yes, we all in this together. And I do want to say that anytime I receive an award, I accept it on behalf of not just myself, but of my mother, late mother. She died 2 years ago, in 6 days, Irene B. West. And my father, Clifton L. West, died 28 years ago. Because I am who I am because somebody loved me. Somebody cared for me. Somebody tended to me. Product of the chocolate side of Sacramento, California. When I saw the brothers in that powerful film, I thought of myself growing up in the ghetto of Glen Elders. We still had Jim Crow Jr. in California, but we had such a good time on that chocolate side in Glen Elders. Why? In part because of what you just heard. What you just heard was not just entertainment. It was a transfiguration of profound wounds and bruises and scars in sonic form so that they could stay in contact with their dignity, their humanity, their sense of perseverance, and then connect with the humanity of each and every one of us. It's hard to find in the last 400 years of people who have been so chronically hated to keep dishing out love warriors every generation. That love train that they put out in March of 1973 with mother, father, sister, and brother, and we would add sibling, that it was an attempt to engage in a profoundly courageous response to catastrophe. That's where that blues comes from that Brother Peter and his good folk produce so magnificently. And the blues ain't nothing but a narrative of catastrophe lyrically expressed that allows folk to respond joyously in the midst of the darkness, to be a light. That's the blues. Brother Peter knows what I'm talking about. Nobody loves me but my mama, and she might be jiving too. That's BB though, isn't it? That's the B-side of The Thrill Is Gone, 1974. Strange fruit that southern trees bear that our Jewish brother Maripo wrote, and the genius from Baltimore City, Billie Holiday, sang about. That's not problem, that's catastrophe. That's hatred. Tied to what? Terror. But oh, in the face of overwhelming terror of 244 years of the most barbaric of modern slavery, And another 100 years of neo-slavery, Jim and Jane Crow. Every 2.5 days for 50 years, some black precious body hanging on a tree, the southern trees bare. Here comes that musical response, sonic response, grounded in one's humanity that still connects us at the deepest human level. That's one of the reasons why black people didn't create a black version of the Ku Klux Klan in response to Ku Klux Klan terror. No, not Klan, here come Frederick Douglass. Not the Klan, here come Harriet Tubman with her Bible and her courage. No, not the Klan, here comes Ida B. Wells. No, not the Klan, here comes Martin Luther King Jr. even making his way to Groton and touching the soul of our dear brother Peter. All of those are waves in an ocean, grand waves of a great tradition. And it's a tradition of a great people. It has nothing to do solely with skin pigmentation. They're mistreated because they're black, but being black in and of itself is always insufficient because you need spiritual formation, you need moral courage, you need spiritual fortitude. The black musical tradition, the work songs, the Leroy Carr, the Ma Rainey, the Bessie Smith, the Charlie Parker, the Louis Armstrong, the Duke Ellington, the Sarah Vaughan, the Carmen McRae, the Thelonious Monk. Where's my Professor Raymond Carr, written magnificent about the theology of Monk. All of these are voices, just like the anthem of black people. Lift every voice. It's not lift every echo. They're not echoes. They're not extensions of silos. They're people who wrestled inside of the dark corners of their own souls such that they could carve out inside of them in relation to other voices and community a love train that then the mother, father, sister, brother, background band for the Philly sound, the genius of Gamble and Huff and Biggs and Ransom, Whitehead, McFarlane, voices, and oh, how deeply we need those voices now. It's no accident in many ways, but when you actually look at the distinctive elements of the blues, distinctive elements of jazz, distinctive elements of rhythm and blues, and yes, the distinctive elements of hip-hop, all at their best. And keep in mind, I'm only talking about the best. I'm not talking about the black thugs and black gangsters and black cowards. Every community, every tradition has thugs, gangsters, and cowards. And I stand before you as someone who tried to be true to the best of my own tradition, but I got a whole lot of gangster in me. Oh, I got a whole lot of thuggery in me. Indeed, when I was with my sick vanilla brothers in Charlottesville to the Ku Klux Klan and the neo-Nazis, and they walked up to me and said, "Aren't you the one on television calling everybody brother?" I said, "Yeah, that's me, brother." He said, "I can't stand that." I said, "Really?" I said, "I'm a Jesus-loving free black man. I don't ask for anybody's permission as to who I love. I love you too." He said, "What you mean?" Then I went evangelical on him. I said, "Well, Jesus loves you just like Jesus loves me. You choose to be a gangster. I was a gangster before I met Jesus, and now I'm a redeemed sinner with gangster proclivities." Love warriors, wounded healers, joy spreaders. Louis Armstrong got so much joy inside of him, it's just overflowing. Dizzy Gillespie's the same way. What is it about all that sadness and sorrow inside of them that somehow they can still dish out that kind of joy? It reminds me of another blues man on the other side of the pond, a vanilla blues man called William Butler Yeats, who's the finest English poet in the 20th century. He used to say it takes more courage to dig deep and wrestle with the dark corners of your own soul than it does for a soldier to fight on the battlefield. That's the kind of fortitude. That's the kind of courage. That's the kind of vision you're talking about when you're listening to this music. Black music is the greatest artistic breakthrough in the most barbaric of recorded times of the 20th century. No other century has generated such levels of barbarity and bestiality of 150 millions of our fellow human beings dead in the name of some ideology, whatever it is, Nazism, communism, imperialism, patriarchy, whatever it is. But in the midst of all of that barbarity, oh, my dear brother Carrasco understands what I'm talking about. Distinguished professor that he is here. Where is he? There he is. There he is. He understands. He understands. He worked with Toni Morrison. Took Toni Morrison to Mexico to meet Marquez. What is Toni Morrison? Toni Morrison is a literary musician. Because she knows you need music to break the back of sentences sometimes. So that whatever sentences you write, you cut them and they ought to bleed. And if those sentences don't bleed, it's too abstract and academic. You got to put yourself into it just like you put yourself into this music. Something's at stake. Bigger than your ego. Bigger than your narcissism. Bigger than your hedonism. Something is at stake. What is it? We see it in the recipients. Integrity in the face of oppression. Honesty in the face of deception. Decency in the face of insult and assault. And then courage in the face of it all, including brute force. And that's why anytime America has had the blues, it could be the Civil War, it could be the 1960s, or it could be recently holding back neo-fascism with Brother Trump being pushed out. The role of not just black freedom fighters, but the role of the black musical tradition of that struggle intervenes. Union Army couldn't have won without 200,000 black soldiers who left the plantations and broke the back of the Confederates. The 1960s, without the leadership of Fannie Lou Hamer, Ella Baker, Diane Nash, James Lawson, Martin King, America would have rolled down and spiraled to chaos. We'd be at each other's throats. And then here comes the neo-fascists recently who pushed our dear brother milquetoast neoliberal Biden across the line. Black voters. And I was doing the pushing, but he's not my favorite candidate, but he was the best one at the moment, so I had to do the pushing, but I knew who I was supporting. And it's not a question of skin pigmentation, it's a question of spiritual formation, moral courage, making choices, commitments, raising the most frightening question we can ever raise, which is, what does it really mean to be human? What kind of human being are you going to choose between your mama's womb and the tomb? Harvard's Veritas. Ooh, that's audacious. Truth. Are you talking about capital T or small t? Well, I come from a tradition that says a condition of truth is to allow suffering to speak. If you're not hearing the voices of the least of these, you're not going to be truthful. You're going to have a lot of mendacious formulation. I also come from a tradition that says, justice is what love looks like in public. And I say this especially to the young students here. Any justice that's only justice soon degenerates into something less than justice. Justice is not a lifestyle. It's not a career choice. It's a calling that you have. You have to be a long-distance runner. You've got to be in it till the very end, just like our recipients. Phase, stage of life, consistent, persistent. persistent. But then, like the music, tenderness is what love feels like in private. And we should never forget that one of the ways in which the best of the black tradition, the great tradition of black people, teaching the world so much about joy, about freedom, about healing, and about love, is in the midst of all of the social misery, still such delicacy. You heard the voices. I could hear Lou Rawls and Teddy Pendergrass and the OJs. Voices, delicate voices, tender voices, soulful voices, and soul ain't nothing but the sharing of a soothing sweetness against the backdrop of grim catastrophe. So that it's a soul-to-soul, eye-to-eye, person-to-person, human-to-human connection that does what? Forces us to get beyond our narrow labels, whatever they are, race, gender, sexual orientation, nation, religious identity. No, get down into your humanity. That's why the music is funky. Because once you really wrestle with what it means to be a featherless, two-legged, linguistically conscious creature born between urine and feces, and know your body will be the culinary delight of terrestrial worms one day, that's funky. Don't deodorize it. Don't sanitize it. Don't sterilize it. Don't try to truncate it into something that is not. Catastrophes are not problems. Too often here at my own beloved Harvard, race becomes a problem. No, it's not a problem. It's a catastrophe visited on indigenous peoples. It's a catastrophe visited on brown brothers and sisters and black brothers and sisters and Asians. Same is true with patriarchy. It's not a woman's problem. Catastrophes visited on the vast majority of humankind. And once you attempt to reduce the catastrophic to the problematic, you end up with a professional managerial class that's trying to reduce what's coming at them to something that's manageable so they feel as if it will facilitate their sense of having mastery over it. No, you're not having mastery over it at all unless you're a participant in struggling against it. Meaning what? Meaning that it's never just an issue of smartness. Let the phones be smart. You got to be wise and courageous and willing to serve something bigger than you. That's what this music is about. That's what this music is about. Lifting the voices. And it's very important to keep in mind, I was looking at my Vanilla brother singing that song by the Spinners, and I turned to my wife Anahita, I said, this brother, he's sounding good. And I ought to be ashamed of myself, because sometimes, you know, when you see the white brother in the band, you figure, is he going to come through or not? He came through magnificently, meaning what? Meaning that any time white brothers and sisters or anybody else join the freedom struggle, especially the black freedom struggle, you're not coming in as an ally. Can I be your white ally? Can I be there to aid you? Can I be alongside you? No. This brother's in the band. He ain't no ally. He's in the band. He's part of the struggle. He knows what solidarity is all about. He's a human being who chose decency, integrity, and he likes the groove, and it helps his soul just like it helps everybody else. Gil Evans ain't no white ally in Miles Davis's quintet. He's in the band. Brother Greg on the drums for Sly and the Family Stone. Vanilla, he's not an ally, he's in the band. The black brother Clarence in Bruce Springsteen's band, he's not a black ally, he's in the goddamn band. We in the band, we on the love train. That's what we are about. Do we have the vision? Do we have the courage? We shall see, because this empire is overwhelmed by spiritual decay and moral decrepitude. Folk walking around scared, intimidated, obsessed with money and status and spectacle and image. How many just watching the whole thing go under rather than jumping in and trying to help somebody? That's what the music is about. I want to be in the band. Can you play? Well, I've been working on my scales, but I got something to add. Then come on in. You're not going to be first guitar, you be third guitar. That's all right. Bring your guitar anyway. Get in the band. We all in this together. Is that right? Are we in this together? Brother Keith, we in this together. That's precisely what it's all about. Thank you all for being here today. Stay strong in what you do.
We're supposed to have closing remarks, but rather than have closing remarks, somebody out in the back made me recognize that we had a young lady up here and she didn't get a chance to sing. So, come on, give her a hand.
Yes,
So we're going to have the sister sing. This is dedicated to all of you all for coming. Thank you. It's dedicated to Dr. West and all the recipients. This is our closing remarks. God bless you all. Could you stay on the stage with just this one song?
Sure,
Right.
sure. You want me to stay on the stage, though?
Are y'all ready? Let me hear you say, oh yeah.